Today we remember Charlie Kirk, his sudden death, his bold message, and his stand for truth. Stay with us as we reflect on his impact as believers, the risks to freedom of speech, and the challenges shaping our society. We'll talk about this in a moment. Welcome, Matt, and welcome, Tzvi. Shalom to all of our audience. We are living very sad moments right now with all the news about Charlie Kirk. And I like to start this discussion, guys, with how did Charlie's Christian values shape the way he approached politics and culture? Maybe it's V. I'd like to hear your opinion on this, and maybe we can talk a bit about this topic. He was very popular, and he was a great influence, I would say, for politics and culture.
Yes, we were seeing off the air. I was sharing the different platforms and how many millions of views he had and subscribers on YouTube channels, TikTok, and everything. He was very, very bright as far as knowing how to spread the message, the strategy he had with the university campuses tours that he did for several years, starting during Trump's first presidency. He was a very strong advocate for Trump and the idea of make America great again. But beyond politics, he was a believer, and he had very strong conservative values that align with his beliefs. And he did not disconnect politics from religion or from moral beliefs, which is something very, very important. I recently put a video out there telling how Charlie Kirk observed the Sabbath from Friday night to Saturday night. I know a lot of people criticize, oh, he did that, but he didn't do these other commandments, because I'm sure that everyone that is watching, keep the 613 commandments and has an impeccable conduct that we don't want to have them on public life, to be able to see what commandments you keep and which you don't. But very strong advocate. He is was writing a book about the Sabbath to put out there to publish at the end of the year in December. And we can see through his debates and discussions that he always proclaimed the faith in Messiah without any shame, which is basically when you're going to some of these universities, you're going into the belly of the beast, very, very dangerous to proclaim any biblical or religious values with these people that are being indoctrinated into the progressive left that becomes very, very radical to the point of violence, right? And he always, had the faith that if it's the end, if it's the end for me, I'm not going to stop speaking, so that is something very, very unique that we should be highlighting, and not only highlighting and emphasizing, but also taking as an example, for us believers to be able to do, because we know how, I will say, even most believers are scared to proclaim what they believe and what they stand for.
I agree with you, Tzvi. Matt, I really admire how Charlie, even though he did not state it, I mean, he did not state that he was, let's say, 100% a Torah observant.
Right.
He shared values about the Sabbath, just like Tzvi was sharing, and I understand that he's got a book coming up next December related to the Sabbath. But I wanted to ask you, Matt, for those people who contact the ministry, since you are involved with partner relations, some people, let's say Christians, they contact us and they they get concerned about how they should live their lives according to the Torah if they are Christians. What are your views on that, or what would you tell him? I mean, people that are interested in learning more about the Torah and the Sabbath, just the way that Charlie did with exploring the Sabbath from his view. What would you tell these people, these new believers that want to get more information in how they should keep the Torah, or the scriptures, the commandments? What's your take on that?
Well, um, I would probably approach it the same way that I came to learn about it. I learned about the Sabbath first, and so that would be something that I would probably explain to someone first coming in. Explaining that the Sabbath, just taking a rest, setting the day apart or making it different than the other days of the week that you're normally just doing your everyday life. Um, Finding believers also observing the Sabbath. I know that sometimes that can be difficult depending on where you are, but trying to fellowship with those that are doing this as well, um, with just uh, just taking a day, taking Friday night to Saturday night from sundown to sundown, and um, observing it in a way where it brings you closer to the Almighty. Charlie Kirk had said things like, turning off your devices. I think that's brilliant. That's a good way to get yourself out of the world, get yourself out of social media, and just instead, pick up your Bible and start reading. Um, but it also, with Sabbath being one of the things mentioned in Leviticus 23, I would also bring up Leviticus 23 to bring in the other feasts, so to start explaining to them that this isn't just specifically for the Jews. This is something that the Almighty has put into the Messiah himself, as far as how he fulfilled them how he's fulfilled the spring feasts in his first coming, and how he will fulfill the fall feasts in his second coming.
Hmm.
Um,
Amen.
yeah,
And now we're coming to celebrate the fall feast, right?
yeah. Mhm.
They're soon to come. Now, it's me. You as a father, I wanted to maybe talk about this. You as a father, and with all this happening with Charlie and his activism, what would be your thoughts or your recommendation in terms of your kids, um, when it comes to the topic of faith? I mean, we just saw Charlie sharing his values and his views on biblical perspectives, and having debates with students at the university. I mean, I feel a little bit afraid that our freedom of speech right now is been at risk, because if you start sharing your thoughts on biblical views, I mean, somebody else might get killed, like Charlie, right? I mean, he was an excellent speaker, and he had a huge influence on young people. I mean, what would be your words to your children? After all this happening to Charlie, and I mean, would you be afraid of them sharing their faith, out loud? And I mean, what's your view on this, Tzvi?
You know how there were so many people on the side of the dark side, so to speak, that were celebrating his death, right? And one can only say that if your enemies are happy when you die, you are doing something consequential in this world. And what better way to leave this earth than, to leave your enemies happy because they hated you so much, right? You were doing the right thing, that you see the people that have the wrong values hate you, right? Like Yeshua said, you will be hated for my
Mhm.
name, right? And they hated him, not only because he believed in Messiah and he proclaimed his message, but because he proclaimed the truth, right? Because I'm not going to say that the message of Messiah is not important, but when you think that Yeshua said that he is the truth, right? That overlays over every aspect of your life. If you are not on the side of truth, I don't care what it is, you are not on the side of Messiah, because
Mhm.
Messiah is supposed to lead you to the truth, right? So if you are on the side of deception, you cannot proclaim that you follow the truth and you don't know what a woman is, right? All the
Mhm.
gender ideology BS,
Right,
right?
right, right.
You need to, to be on the side of truth, and that's why he has such a strong message that he proclaimed the truth as he saw it in his religion and moral convictions, but also in every aspect that he discussed and he debated with, especially with indoctrinated college students. So to me, the message for the younger generation, including my children, is to show what an example of someone, that is unashamed of speaking out for what they believe, but also in a respectful way. It's about your argument. It's not about, even if you're in favor of the Second Amendment, it's not about how you can enforce your opinion. It is about how you can win on a debate, because who can argue against the truth?
Mhm.
So we can only imagine, his how his message will spread. Unfortunately, his enemies thought that he could be silenced and then the message will go away. When in reality, try to think what happened with Yeshua's message when he was crucified. Did that help put down the fire that he started? No, like it spread to the four corners of the earth. So
For 2,000 years. Mhm.
I can only imagine, and we already see after a week. I don't know how many university chapters Turning Point USA had. It was already in the several thousands, but since his death, there have been like an additional 20,000 chapters, applications for chapters to be open. So, the more people that speak, the more people will be encouraged to speak. You know,
Mhm.
because a lot of people don't speak because they think that nobody believes like them. That they will be shunned. They don't know that other people are out there and they're just waiting for somebody to say something so that they can join them.
Mhm. Or maybe they feel afraid to express their ideas, right? I mean, I see Charlie like John the Baptist, Matt. I mean, would you agree that Charlie was kind of like a modern day prophet in that sense?
Oh,
I
sure.
mean,
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, his and the things that you guys just brought up, just like between um, the chapter, all the chapters that they're wanting to open up. The latest number I saw was 32,000 more. And then with the thing about his voice just getting stronger and stronger. It's not just the United States. There was a rally over the weekend, I think it was, in the UK, where 3 million people showed up. It was a Tommy Robinson rally. And people have lately in the UK have been very afraid to speak out, just because of um, they get in some serious trouble for mentioning certain things over there right now. So, but 3 million people came out um, in support, and they talked about Charlie Kirk, and Elon Musk joined in. via Skype or something like that. So the voice, his voice is getting loud. And with John the Baptist, he the Pharisees like to come. They came to question him, like, so who are you? Are you the Messiah? Because his voice was getting loud enough around Israel that the Pharisees had to come out to him and be like, look, why are you preaching all this? Are you the Messiah? So yeah,
He was not afraid of speaking against authorities back
right,
in his days, right? The
right.
temple authorities.
Hmm.
Now, would you think that Charlie showed did he show that holding firm to biblical truth can still be done with love? What would you say, Matt?
Yeah, I do believe that. Though I never saw him speak in a way that came off as hate ever. It was always, I mean, it may have been, strong or blunt, but it was never hateful. He never seemed to like raise his voice in a way where it was, he was upset at the person, um, in a way where it came off as hateful, like demeaning the person he was debating with. He never did that. Um, he was just very good at answering questions, um, in a way where you didn't think he was being just a jerk to whoever he was debating. It never came off that way.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Very respectful. Even though he was very bold, he was
yeah, he's
very
bold.
respectful at
Mhm.
all times.
Yeah.
Now, it's I know you love talking about politics, but beyond politics, what part of Charlie's Christian testimony do you believe will impact, you know, future generations most? Uh, would you expand a little bit more on that, maybe?
I mean, what I think one message that people may not take as necessarily religious, but it is a very important one, and I think that it was a big driving force in his life. Was about the family, yeah, forming a family, and that's also in part why he spoke so much about things like gender ideology or things that would hinder a person into forming a family. It could be gender ideology, it could be feminism, it can be, a lot of different things. But um, he had a very, very strong push for forming a family and thinking that that has the power to change society, to change the country, etc. And we know that you can call it the government, you can call it the devil, has been attempting against the family for a very long time. Not only like the typical family unit, but also, against having children. 50 years ago, there was already a memorandum that Henry Kissinger wrote about the danger of population growth and overpopulation. People think that is something from the last 20 years. No, the big world leaders have been concerned about this for a long, long time, and they have been devising ways to prevent people from having children, namely abortion, maybe most blatantly, but also promoting gender ideology, homosexuality, etc., are things that are going to hinder people from forming families. So I think probably I will take that as the core message where he was headed. And that is a great message also because you don't really need to try to convince somebody of anything religious. And I also like how Charlie always spoke about debating ideas uh, aside from demanding a certain belief. You have to be able to argue an idea such as immigration, gender ideology, the economy, limited government, free markets, etc., from a secular perspective. You
Mhm.
cannot demand from someone belief in God, or let alone the death and resurrection of Messiah, to get into something political. So
It's V.
that is
Did you ever hear something that you probably were against? You know, with Charlie's message, maybe, or did you disagree with him on certain topic or something, or not necessarily?
that's a very good question. I have to probably I'm a lot more he was hardcore conservative. I don't necessarily identify with hardcore conservative thinking. I'm more like libertarian, and because of that, I have a lot of values, that I believe that are more aligned with a classical liberal thought, and not necessarily with a strong hardcore conservative. For example, um, I mean, I know that people will hate to hear this, but say the liberalization of all drugs. I think people should be able to try whatever they want, do whatever they want. I think that even if I don't agree, right, because that's the point of freedom, and the government cannot
Right.
come and tell you, this you don't do. These drugs are on Schedule 1 because they have no benefit, and then on the other hand, promote opioids, and usher the opioid epidemic in the country. So that probably I would disagree with him. He had very strong views on immigration, aligning more with Christian nationalism. I don't necessarily agree with that necessarily. I do agree, though, that the founding fathers were very strongly in favor of religious values in government. The separation between church and state is an idea that does not appear in the founding documents of this country. It's only in a letter from Thomas Jefferson, like a decade later. And it had to do with the government interfering in the matters of the church, and not the other way around. That's why they said that the Constitution and this form of government was given to a moral and believing populace. So I'm definitely in favor of that, and most of the things, most decisively, the support for Israel. That Charlie was a very strong supporter of Israel. Um, uh, Albeit in the last few months he started criticizing some things, and I already saw all over the place that some people think that Israel killed Charlie Kirk, so we're not even going to go there today. We can leave it for another episode, but he was a very strong advocate of the Jewish people, and the Jewish people having a state. You should be free to criticize the government of Israel. I criticize the government of Israel. I don't know why there are so many Zionist Christians that don't believe that you can criticize the government of Israel. I think that is a very, very shallow idea. But nevertheless, he was a strong advocate for the Jewish people, and the right of Israel to exist. That is what I love, and I think that brought him to deepen his religious values and getting to the Sabbath, connecting with rabbis. He had friends,
Mhm.
he was friends with Ben Shapiro. He got inspired by Ben Shapiro and Dennis Prager, from his own tweets. So he did have a good influences in the Judeo-Christian values from
Mhm.
his youth.
Yeah, I agree with you. I've watched many of his videos, and he's a strong supporter of Israel.
Yeah.
Now, the question goes to you, Matt. Is there something that you disagree with Charlie's message, or not necessarily?
I I'm like Svi as far as having to probably go back and look at more videos of him, because there's not a it's so many things I see where I'm like, yeah, bingo, over and over again. But I'm sure there is out there somewhere, nobody agrees with each other 100%, or we wouldn't be our own person. But, um, I can't think of anything off the top of my head that on a big issue that I would say, oh no, he's completely, off the wall there.
And
So
sorry,
That's fair.
and Matt, back to adding something right quick before we round it off, Harold, is that he started his career or his activist career, when he was 18 years old with Turning Point USA on the premises of limited government, free markets, and I forgot the other one that hardcore libertarian ideas. Not hardcore conservative. Then he met Donald Trump, and he saw in Trump. He really believed in Trump, um, and he saw it as the only way out of what he thought. This country is going to the trash. But in Trump we see something like a speck of light that he's more for freedom, and those ideas of freedom. But then he was the one, from the words of Bobby Kennedy, that orchestrated this coalition between Bobby Kennedy and Donald Trump. Yeah, Kennedy was running for president, and he had the idea. Kennedy said he had the idea of those sparklers in the background, to make it very, impactful or theatric, in a good way, because this was really a big point of inflection in the last race. Kennedy was running for president, and he was not even a Republican or with conservative values. He was always a Democrat, but the Democratic Party basically kicked him out. He was voicing, he was expressing his grievances about the tyrannical outreach of the government during the pandemic. And Trump now put him in charge of all health agencies. Now he's in charge of the Department of Health and, yeah, DHHS, DSS, that is above the CDC, the FDA. It is above all them, and he has these ideas, Kennedy, that align with, libertarian ideas or classical liberalism, and that's what shows me that Kirk could reconcile, with different sides. It's a new generation. You don't have to be hardcore conservative, cannot align with anything else. He was, you can say, outside the box, and that is a big hope, moving forward for what the country can become. What will it morph into? Those ideas that he put out there, and what people will take from it and what they will make of it.
I agree with you. I think America lost a great leader. I mean, and we as believers should be able to, find the way to carry forward the values that he stood for in practical ways. I mean, we should find the way to do that. And before we finish, Tzvi, we always like to thank all of our new YouTube members also, very quick, and let you guys know that it is because of you, because of your support, that we can continue sharing the message of the Messiah and the Torah. We have here Ben Elohim, Darja, Eliezer Cornelius, Isaac Torres, Ionian Mountain, and we have Mountain High, Ionian, Mary Martlam, and G-Man Smith, and Emmanuel Ferreras, and some other people, Rosa Jones and Shirley Walker. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, guys, on behalf of Michael Rood and Rood Awakening Ministries. We'd like to thank you. We bless you. We bless your families. And thank you, Matt, and thank you, SV, for sharing your thoughts and your insights in terms of in regards to Charlie Kirk in his case. Well, we'll see you until next time. May Jehovah bless you and keep you. Shalom.